DTV. Kind of sounds like an air conditioning unit, but DTV actually stands for Dealer Team Vauxhall. Vauxhall, of course, is the British arm of General Motors. The Dealer Team Vauxhall was established in 1971 by a really clever fella called Bill Blydenstein, and the team's main driver was the brilliant Gerry Marshall. And DTV throughout the 1970s ran all of Vauxhall's racing programs.
And the flag is going up now. Graham White is lifting it. And a real blazer of a start from Mike Crabtree. Norman Abbott sprints through and takes the front of Gerry Marshall's Vauxhall. And it's the big 5.7 litre Chevrolet Camaro with Mike Crabtree in the Ford Escort RS 1600 and Gerry Marshall both trying to get through as they come through at the top.
But even before DTV came along, Bill Blydenstein and Gerry Marshall were working together. They built and raced a pair of Vauxhall Viva GTs in the 1970 British Saloon Car Championship, driven by Marshall and Bill Dryden, and at least one of these cars dated back to 1969. Now when Dealer Team Vauxhall came along in 1971, the two Vivas were absorbed into it, and they both raced that season in the B.A.R.C. Osram series for heavily modified sedans. With a new DRT Forenza on the way, one of the very last races that Gerry Marshall drove one of the Vivas was the famous Crystal Palace Osram race in September 1971, where he battled for the lead with Mike Crabtree in the Wilmot Racing Escort and Martin Thomas in the Ovaltine Camaro. And that's the race that I'm playing throughout this video. And then a little while later at a race at Leyden Hill, Marshall was in the Forenza, the two Vivas were further back in the pack, and both were involved in a massive shunt just after the start. One of the Vivas was so badly damaged it was written off, but the other was repaired, sold to Gerry Marshall's neighbour John Pope. And that's this car behind me. Now, John Pope is most famous for the John Pope Special, a crazy Vauxhall Magnum Special Saloon powered by a twin turbocharged Aston Martin V8. The John Pope Special debuted in 1974 and this car was sold off. Somehow, many years later, it ended up down here in New Zealand. And it's owned by my good buddy Keith, and it's about to undergo a massive restoration back to its original DTV guise. Now as you can see, the car is on a rotisserie. It's been taken back to bare metal. It's been this way for a few years now. There's a few small areas of rust. This roll cage was installed here in New Zealand. This is not the original roll cage that the car ran with. But aside from that, it's an incredibly well-preserved car. Now when Keith bought this car, the previous owner has supplied it with documentation, having contacted a couple of the original Dealer Team Vauxhall crew members, and the previous owner had supplied them a bunch of photos to help prove that this was the original car, and they're 100% certain that indeed it is. And they've also been in touch with Gregor Marshall, Gerry Marshall's son, who also has a huge amount of knowledge on these cars. But there's several special features that define this car, including this strengthening here in the front inner fenders, these special braces here that come through into the engine bay. They actually come around the front here. This bar here basically runs into here, and then I believe another one runs out to here, just to provide some rigidity to the front end. Now this Viva began life as an FIA Group 2 car, as it ran in the 1970 British Saloon Car Championship, and there were various modifications that were allowed, but they all had to be homologated. So these fiberglass rear fender flares, for example, these cars were homologated to run fender flares, and on the front here it would have originally, under FIA Group 2 rules, it would have run steel front fenders with a fiberglass flare. But when this car then moved across to the Osram modified series in 1971, the team installed these full fiberglass front fenders that have the flare moulded into the fender. It's all one piece.
Norman Adam clipped the front of Gerry Marshall's Vauxhall fiberglass in the front.
If you look closely here, you can actually see some of the old red paint and some of the old silver paint, as per the DTV factory colours. The silver, they were silver and red. In 1970 in the British Saloon Car Championship, before DTV came along, these cars were both painted white. Another one of the features of this car is the whole front structure here has been cut away. When it ran as an FIA Group 2 car, It ran in Class C in the 1970 British Saloon Car Championship for engine sizes up to 2,000 cc's. So it ran engines up to about 1974 cc's, but when it ran in the Osram series in 71 onwards, the team were fitting much larger motors up to about 2.5 litres, and clearly they were swapping motors fairly often, and this just sort of made it a lot easier to get the motors in and out. Now if we go into this little room here, we've got a bunch of fascinating parts that came with this car, including this rear end, which is actually a English Ford rear end. This car would have run in Group 2 form in 1970 with a Vauxhall rear end, but then when it went to the Osram series in 71, the team would have installed this Ford rear end because it was both lighter, but also because there were more diff ratios that they could fit into it. And as you can see, there's some more limited slip diffs sitting under here in the shelves of various different ratios. We've got a variety of cylinder heads here, modified cylinder heads that came with the car, camshaft, flywheel and clutch and things over here. And these here, which are really, really cool, these are the original Teclamy mechanical fuel injection systems that were fitted to these cars at Dealer Team Vauxhall in the 1970s. And these didn't actually come with the car when it first came to New Zealand. The previous owner, as I mentioned, contacted one of the original mechanics. The mechanic owned these fuel injection units, has had them since about 1975, and after he identified the car as the original DTV Viva, he was happy to send these parts out and have them reunited with the car, which is such a cool thing.
Crabtree does it! Mike Crabtree, for the second time in half an hour, has taken the lead from Martin Thomas, and Gerry Marshall is still there, right behind them. This is lap 14 in a 15-lap race.
So if we look inside here, we can see this is the front footwell, and you can see that there's a modification that's taken place here on the front inner fender, and they've basically made a little mini tub, a little bubble, a little mini tub, just to allow for the much fatter wheels and tyres that these cars ran. And it's the same in the back as well, mini tubbed in the rear end. This was a really common modifications also for a lot of the Mark I Escorts that ran in the British Saloon Car Championship. And also this car ran a 4-link rear end at one point in its life, probably when it ran in the Osram series, I'm suspecting, with the Ford rear end. And you can see the special brackets that were made here to cover the top bars of the 4-link. And if you check this welding here, this is really 1970s type welding. This is pure period stuff. It's so cool. Okay, so we'll flip the car over on its rotisserie so we can have a really good look underneath. And if you look under here, you can see all the plating that's been added to provide some rigidity. And if this was done today, this welding would be an awful lot nicer. This is real 1970s welding, and it wasn't designed to look pretty. It was just designed to perform a function, and that was to make the car strong. And same thing again. We've got spot welding, just basically seam welding, just to make the body as it runs along the chassis a little stronger there. And then going towards the rear of the car, we can get a really good look at these inner tubs and how deep they are. The way that they were modified, and also the modifications to the rear upright brackets and things. So it's just amazing that this car, although its history from about 1974 onwards is a little bit of a mystery, it would seem that it just got pushed into somebody's shed and forgotten about because it's so original and so unspoilt. It's just an amazingly preserved car. Now hopefully you can see this right here. This is the chassis tag that was supplied with the Viva. This Viva and its sister car, which are both 1969 model cars, they were clearly plucked off the Vauxhall assembly line quite early on because they weren't fitted with factory chassis tags. And so for the team to go and race in Europe, the cars had to be fitted with a chassis tag to get through customs. So one of the crew members just made this chassis tag and fitted it to the car. And that was another way that their vehicle was identified with the original DTV crew members. They saw the chassis tag and knew straight away that this was from the original car.
It's still Crabtree. Thomas goes through on the bottom straight, and he does it. Thomas and Brad Flynn, but there's still a break. Thomas has lost it and he's out. Spin, spin, spin.
So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this little video on the sole surviving DTV Vauxhall Viva GT factory race car. If you have any information on these cars, if you had any involvement or know anyone that was involved in DTV, the Dealer Team Vauxhall, at the time that these cars raced or any time after, if you've got any details on these cars in their post-DTV era, please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Obviously there's a few blanks, a few gaps and stuff in this car's history that we'd love to fill in. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But either way, please like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.
There is Marshall, who's going to be second in the Vauxhall Viva GT. Crabtree through into Maxim Rise on the 15th lap, out of 15, lights ablaze in the John Wilmette Group RS 1600 Ford Escort, and over the line to a superb victory goes Mike Crabtree, followed by a cheerful Gerry Marshall in a